Good
Hey
morning.
there.
Kathy.
Hi.
I'm going to make sure that my computer sound is off, and I hope everybody can see me. We had a little problem with YouTube. They did some upgrades, and YouTube is doing new things, which meant I couldn't find the start button this morning. I'm so sorry about that all. Um, so this morning I have some exciting things to share with you. We're gonna get to see Rory, who's gonna show us some exciting demos and teach us some new things that we can do in PowerApps so that it can be fun, not only at work, but for family and home. So let me see if we got Rory on the line. If so, Rory, I'm gonna go ahead and kick you off since we're a few minutes late. How you doing today, Rory? Can you hear us?
Very, very good. Thanks. Can you hear me all right, Audrey?
And I confirm they can hear Rory. Just checking.
Oh, I can see myself. I'm gonna have to come off there.
Rory, go ahead.
Okay.
Just
Um,
share it with some of your favorite apps that you've made for family and home.
cool. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me on. So today we're going to go through some apps for family and home. So these are apps that I've just kind of put together where you get a bit when you. Oh, hold on. Sorry about that. Yeah. I'm very excited to talk about the apps for family and home. And what I want to show people is that it's not just for business. It's something that you can do just to make apps for fun. And you can also learn a lot of things about business when you're building apps for yourself. It's actually one of the best ways of learning about app building. I think we're gonna that as we've lost a bit of time. I wonder if we'll get on to doing some demos pretty soon. How does that sound, Audrey?
That sounds awesome. Let's see. Can you hear me? Let's see.
I can definitely hear you.
Good. Yes, that sounds awesome. Let's go for it.
Okay, so I'm going to do screen share. I'm going to go to my entire screen. I'll hit share. Everything's a bit new, and with cloud computing, you've only got to go away for a month, and it's all changed. Good. Okay, good. So the first thing that we're going to look at is actually my mum is on the line, so this is going to be a lot of fun. So it's not even a power up, but it's one of my most I can say one of the most sort of bizarre and fun things that I've done. And it started off where I was saying to my mum, I've got a flow, and what the flow does is every Wednesday and a Sunday, it tells me to send a text or give you a ring and so on. And so we chatted about it, and it was quite funny and so on. So what my mum said to me was, "Well, do you think you can do that for me? Do you think you can send me a text every day to take my tablets?" So I said, "Okay, then I'll do that." So this is the flow that I put together. Are you able to see that okay at the moment, Audrey?
Yes, if you can zoom, that would be great. So always stay
Cool.
at your highest possible zoom.
So if I do that, is that better?
That's excellent. Even
Good.
somebody as old as me can see. Thank you.
Yeah. I just okay. Cool. So what this is, it has a recurrence. So at 6 o'clock every day, it will perform this task. Now, um, I won't talk about this get item bit. So initially, when I first did it, she got this text. It said, "Hi, Mum. Please make sure you take your tablets, Dr. Rory." And then mum would get her tablets. And I don't know about you, but you know when you get things repeatedly and every day, and you start to learn to ignore them. It's like what we do with emails now, but this would be with text. So I thought, well, to make it a bit more interesting, what I would do would be I would go off to the internet and I would go and get a load of proverbs. So I found this website with a load of proverbs, and it and so I've got 150 proverbs. So what happens is it chooses one of the proverbs, and it's a really simple flow. So I'm just wondering where I need to, yeah. So it's a very simple flow that the minute I'm on here now, um, it selects between 1 and 150. You can actually see it there, but I don't know why it's not sort of showing up very well. So it does a random number between 1 and 150, and it only gives me that item. And so when it's done that, it just takes the text and it sends it to my mum. It sends it with this little bit of extra notification, and then what it does is it sends me a mobile notification on my phone because I don't want to pay for a text for me, but my mum, because she's external to my tenant, she needs a text. So I know my mum is on the line looking. So what I'll do is I'll do a test. Mum, put the tablets away. This is not a real thing. And so I can hit the run flow on this. And so what it's going to do is it's going to run this. It's going to say run successfully. I had a ding just then because my phone got its notification. And so we can have a look at the text message that my mum got. So mum, if you're on the line, I can't go. I'm not on YouTube anymore. But if you can just confirm that you have had this.
Is
Hi, Mrs.
Mom here
Deary.
today? Is she here?
Yeah, she mum is on the YouTube. She is my number one YouTube fan.
Oh my goodness. What's
She's
her
my
name?
Hillary.
Hillary Neary. Hey
Yeah.
Hillary. Shout out from Microsoft, Hillary. Can you confirm you got that little notification?
So
That
she
is
might.
so
I don't know if
awesome.
she's. I'm not on YouTube at the moment. So
I'm on
yeah,
there. I see her.
yeah. So, an idle brain is the devil's workshop is today's proverb for the day. And later on, it'll run again and so on. So that's that's just a bit. It is a bit of fun, but you know what? It's quite useful. And if that's the thing that means that my mum takes her tablets, then isn't that a good thing? I won't show you the extension to this because I separately did another one, which was it was a an app which was called I Remember, and what it is an app that sorry, it's a flow, and what it does, it's a series of memories from like things that me and my wife have done and so on. And what it does is it's the great big list, and it just picks one of the memories, and every day it just pings out a little memory of something we did, and it's just kind of fun. So it has no utility apart from just reminding you things that you've done.
I really love this. When you first shared it with me, I kind of was blown away, Rory, because, the idea of helping a family member remembering something is not that far different from helping a coworker remember something, and, you could do a similar thing to remind your manager to sign something once a week or to remind your team that there's upcoming events being planned. And so
Yeah.
there's like all kinds of ways we can do this, but seeing an integration with mom just made me so happy. And you know what else I thought about? I thought about the idea of using a physical button for this as well. Um, if it isn't a
Yes.
regular thing, we could
Yeah.
press a button and remind someone to do
Definitely.
anything.
Definitely.
Kind of be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as you know, the possibilities are kind of endless, and so you end up having to focus on what's the requirement is rather than whether or not the technology can do it or not. So yeah, and then really focus in on what the requirement is. So yeah. So
Good
that
looking
was
app too. Good
yeah,
looking app.
yeah. So that was a flow that was of use. So the next thing here, should we move on to the next
Yep,
app?
no questions yet. But I'm watching the window for
Okay,
questions. You can keep
cool.
going.
So the next one here. Now let's hope it doesn't actually show my passwords, otherwise I'm in trouble. But this is a really simple app. It actually just started off life as a SharePoint app, but it is my single most useful app no question. And the reason why it is, it holds my passwords, but it's obviously safe because I authenticate through Office 365 and so on, and it enables me to get to my passwords really quickly and also get through to I'm just going to fire it up now. Yeah, this is good actually because it's not actually my password. So this is the password vault, and these aren't real passwords at all. And so what you can do is with this, you can get directly. So you can create a password, which we'll do in a minute, and you can search for your passwords as well. You can type in BBC, and it'll only show BBC. And if you want to get to your the relevant site, you can click the web. And also, if you click on the show, then it will the button disappears, and you can then get to see the password. Um, so I think that's quite cool, actually. And I use it in lots of different ways. So I use it on the web, but I also use it on my phone sometimes because it's relevant to being on my phone. So I think that's an amazing little mashup. And also the fact that the simple launching of a website, I mean, how easy is that? You go direct to your web. You don't never remember what your the website address is. So it's really, really seamless. And if I want to create another one, all I do is put in the site details, put the web address details in. Um, and if I don't I can't remember on this one whether or not if I don't put a web address in there, I think that the link doesn't show up. Yeah, so that's quite cool, isn't it? That it's not going to give you a link. So where you've got a web address completed, it will give you a web link, and if there isn't one completed, you don't get one. And yeah, this is really useful. I mean, I must have hundreds of passwords, so I don't bother remembering them now because I've just got this.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if maybe we could put together a blog on this because there's a lot to think about. Like you are sitting in a browser. Um, and so there's a lot to think about when you are working in a tool like this. So I'd love to know kind of some of the mechanisms you use to keep all of this secure and how you use it. It looks like you're using it on your phone mostly, or
Well, funnily enough, no, it's only really. I mean, most of the time, it's if you've got an account with this, or if you're trying to book a
yeah,
flight, or whatever it is you're trying to do,
yeah,
all I'll do is, I'll type in, air, something like that, and obviously it won't appear here. But if for British Airways, I can go in there, type it in, it'll come up with that. And so typically, I'm not trying to book a flight on my phone. I'm actually trying to book a flight on my computer. It's just that sometimes if it's like for example with Cineworld where you want to get cinema tickets, well, typically I've got the app on my phone and I'm thinking, crikey, yeah, what's the password for this thing? Okay, great. Well, I've got my phone with me, so I can literally just find out the password by going onto the app on my phone. So it's a user experience thing. It's like, well, sometimes I'm on my phone, sometimes I'm not, but it'll work for both.
okay, great. That's awesome. I think it's a good idea. I know it's challenging to keep track of all of our passwords today. And one of the biggest things I learned, like basically from our security team, is when we use passwords that are easy to remember, they're probably not the best
Yeah,
passwords. So having it done randomly and with more algorithm behind it is the best way to do it. So we do need technology to help us. It's so true.
yeah.
And now I do have a comments here. So Radhika said, if we can encrypt and decrypt the password, that looks good. So I think she's on the same line of thought as me. How is
Yeah.
it managed in transit there? So
And obviously the nature of this particular session is power apps for family in the home. I'm
yeah.
not really saying, right, let's put all of our corporate passwords onto a SharePoint list, which is what this is on. And wouldn't that be a great idea, everyone?
yeah.
Because I don't think that's true. Um, but it's more a case of saying, crikey, do you know what? It helps me so much. It
yes.
works for me because it is genuine in a safe place.
Yes.
Um, but maybe it sparks a little light bulb for people to say, because actually when I do contracting, every time you go to a place, they're all saying like, you must have this type of password and that type of password. they
Yeah, I
never they
know.
never say where you should keep them,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
you're on your
totally.
own on that, I'm afraid.
Yeah. No, it's true. So that's very creative thinking. Okay, That's awesome. No questions on this, but I'm getting a lot of excitement in the chat regarding these personal uses. So thank
Cool.
you, Rory. Just getting thumbs up.
Cool. So this next one is I do you know, you're not supposed to love apps, but I love this one. Um I've put my heart and soul into this one. Um and it's an app that's kind of morphed, if you like. It started off as one thing, and then it became another thing, and it's actually turned out to be both of those things. And so what you'll see in here is I have an app, and it does two different things, and I will obviously show them to you now. So what we've got is it's kind of based around the idea of knowledge and also mapping and um and also maybe ideas around how it might be used in the context of a school. So the idea is that this is a school field trip. And so you've got this little girl, and she's at the science center, and they're obviously displaying friction or something like that. But what you actually do to get this one started is you click on the child, and then you get to see your options. Now, under the hood, there's going to be a few questions on this, I'm afraid. It started off, this is where it started. It started off with Hannibal's journey around the world in 400 BC. Now, and I knew nothing about it at all. So, and it was, I created this app here, and what I was really desperate to have this idea that a dot would move around the screen, demonstrating demonstrating something that happened. Um, and maybe if I just demo it, you'll kind of see what I mean. So basically, in this, Hannibal went around the Mediterranean, and presumably he beat lots of people up and had battles and all sorts of things. But the way in which it works is that if you hit the play button, the dot literally moves from one place to another. This is PowerApps, guys, and I love this. So if you each time you hit play, you see where it was before, and where it's going to. Now, you've also got options here where you won't be able to hear these, but there's a kind of like there's a sort of fighting that takes place and so on, and also there's a bit down here, and I could change the UI, but where you have elephants, and because Hannibal used elephants to attack the Romans with, but 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 when you've got something like this, and bear in mind the way in which this actually works is when you go onto the admin mode, if you want to create a new dot, all you have to do is go ka-ching, ka-ching, place marker, bang. You've just placed a new marker into that story. And if you go next, 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 if you go, you can actually see that that we've actually got our new dot has actually appeared. It's item 120. So I'm not quite sure why it's doing some weird stuff at the moment, but
So quick question, Rory. So you're saying the person who's running the app
yeah,
can plot where Hannibal was?
absolutely, yeah, yeah,
Wow, that's like
it is, yeah, it's cool,
amazing. So you've
yeah,
made an app that basically the end user configures, right?
yes,
You give them a found, and I don't think I've seen anything like that to date. Like I can't think of anything where the end user is configuring the activities that are going to happen in the app. So after
yeah.
they plot a position, how do you add any details about what he was doing in that
Well,
place?
not on this one version of it, but what you'll see in a minute is the school trip version of this. You can actually do it, but I think if I demo the school trip version of this thing here, because this one was this iteration of this was all about movement, and the version. So that's one iteration, one flavor of this. But then I kind of thought, you know what? Wow. I went to Copenhagen recently, and I went to an aquarium, and I was there, and I just went around. I thought, oh, isn't it great, isn't it? And there was all of these, fish and things. And I thought, well, I'll go there because my family don't like going to the aquariums, but I do. So, and it's this amazing aquarium. And so I thought, do you know what? I'll take a load of photos because that's kind of what I do. And so what I did, this is different. It's same, it's similar, but it's different. And what makes this different is that it does the things that you were just suggesting there. So you could have done the movement thing here, but it's less important. This is where a teacher gets to kind of talk to the children about the trip that they went on. So if they click on the actual dot, what you get is the an image associated with that position, and actually some words associated with what was going on there.
Wow.
It
Oh,
is cool.
so as they're walking through, like snap a picture, make a note kind of thing?
So here's how it works. Now, I really focused on what I thought the user story was like. So
Okay.
here's what I'm thinking you're going around with 30 kids or something like that. You have not got time to be moving dots around a page or anything like that. So all you do is you go in, snap, 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 snap. You just take a load of photos. That's great. But it's the way it actually works, and it's going to kind of blow people's minds a little bit, is that what you do is you say, right, okay, how am I going to get these photos into this app? And the way in which it works is through this really cool flow. And it's stepping back from the flow. What you do is you basically put it into OneDrive. You got a flow that looks at the OneDrive. You hit a button, the button then goes and takes all of those files from your OneDrive and puts it into a SharePoint document library. But whilst it's doing that, it actually does some cognitive services in order to pull out a thumbnail for that specific item. And the reason I wanted a thumbnail was because I wanted high performance from this app. I didn't want like a 4 meg picture taking 20, 5 seconds to load. And so you've got the thumbnail going on. And what that means is that when I click on the dots here, um, it's rapid. It's really quick. So you've got it all going on. It's going on really quick. So yeah, there's some cool stuff going on in this. And so what happens there is that you've got the data story, if you like, is that you've got a list, which is all the dots, and you've got a document library, which has got the images in. And essentially, all you do is you go onto the library here. This is me in Copenhagen, and you click on the thing there, and then you press the submit button here, and now you've just changed it from the otter to hello otter, yeah, to being this image here, and you can actually also click on the image. Check it out. That is so cool.
Where'd you get that big computer from, Rory?
I know. Do you like it? Yeah, it's really this computer, by the way, is really good for presentations. You don't need a big screen or anything like
Yeah,
that when
yeah,
you've
yeah.
got a computer like that.
That's awesome. So, I mean, I think this is a great idea. I mean, I know that personally I've used flow buttons for uploading photos to SharePoint libraries many times. I like that you added the idea of, being aware that when you're on the web, right, you don't want to have those 15 meg photos
Yeah,
loading. So
yeah,
you want to find a way to use the thumbnail. And so, yeah, that's a great idea. It really shows good design principles. Very
yeah.
nice.
So what I really want to do with this is I would love to make this available to schools and just say, guys, I've made this for you. Go off, have a great school trip, go to the safari, whatever it is, come back with the kids, take the photos and so on, and then talk to the kids and say, well, okay, kids, tell us about the day. What you. In fact, the kids could actually do the story themselves. You see, because they could actually have all the points. They could say what they wanted to talk about. It's independent of the teacher. They could do it. And so depending on the age of the child, if you like, you could sort of differentiate how it worked because there's a because the points themselves are disconnected from the images. So the teacher could take the images and make sure that people aren't putting any odd images and so on up. That I think I love this one.
Me too. I think I love the element of education involved here. We have a quick question about the thumbnails. I don't know if you
Uh-huh.
have the answer. If you don't, we can follow up together.
Yeah.
This is from A. A has a very short name, and A's question is: I would really like to know what the thumbnail height is for portrait photos. Landscape is set based on thumbnail selected, small, medium, or large. Height varies. So can you share anything related? Oh, hi Antoinette. I didn't realize that was you. Um, can you share anything about the height and the width of the thumbnails? Do you know about those?
Well, what I did with that was instead of getting bogged down with the idea of the height and all that sort of thing, if you use the cognitive services, oh no, if you use the cognitive services, I don't know what it's doing here, at generate thumbnail, then that means that you don't need to concern yourself too much with that piece, because it'll just do it according to, it takes a photo in, it'll generate you a thumbnail. It doesn't, it just does a thumbnail. It doesn't. Whereas there are versions. I, I'm struggling with getting to see the. Um, I don't know why it's getting upset with me here.
Yeah, it's
Um,
probably the connector. So
it
some
might be because we're
yeah.
online together and all that sort of
Yes,
thing.
yes,
So,
because this particular action does require a cognitive services account key, and there are times when either they expire or you hit your limit of how many times you can
oh
use
dear.
it. But I think it's a great thing to use. I mean, it's awesome. I didn't think to use that because actually in the past I've used the SharePoint thumbnail, right?
Yeah,
So this thumbnail is going to be better because it's going to be more efficient.
yeah.
So I hope that answered your question, Antoinette.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, I didn't get too bogged down with it. What I did instead was I thought, well, do you know what? I don't care. It's a thumbnail. It works. But the difference is that when you're in the app itself, let me just make sure I jump onto it, which is definitely this one. So if you're on here and you then go through to it, you're not looking at the thumbnail anymore, I don't think. I think you're actually looking at the real file itself, so you get all of the, it'll be the real deal when you actually go through to the file.
Okay, which brings me to Jamie Willis's Rose question. He said, "Would these images display on a mobile device?"
Yes, they would. Just bear in mind that with any of these things, if you're kind of on 4G or anything like that, then in particular with I mean, the thumbnails are tiny. They are so small, you wouldn't believe it. They're like 47K. And so it'll take like a 4 meg file and it'll just squish it down to like 47K or something like that. They really do, you know, they'll work. Having said that, this is an app that is not built for mobile. You can see that it's done as a tablet app, etc., etc. So the experience was not intended to be a mobile experience, and because of that, it works. Whereas on a mobile, the writing would be too small, and so on.
Okay, and but on a mobile is where you're actually using a button to get the photos up to the cloud, right?
So what? No, what you actually do is you on your what you do is I thought, you know, here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the user experiences, take a load of photos, go onto OneDrive, select all of the photos, upload them into a specific folder, and then hit a flow button, which will take all of those photos and do what's needed with the photos. So it's not a, you know, because if you went on a field trip, you might take 40 photos. I am not hitting the flow button 40 times. No way.
Gotcha, gotcha.
I'm hitting it once.
Yes, and technically, because we have a OneDrive mobile app, we could put them on OneDrive while on the move, and then hit the flow button from
That
the
and that's
Flow app.
exactly and
Yes.
that's exactly how I do it.
Okay.
That's what I do.
Perfect.
So I can basically pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And once I get back to the, you know, you get back to school, you pick your 20, 30 photos and you go in there, you upload them. And the other reason why I did it that way is because I wanted to make sure I did have a flow trigger that would look at OneDrive and so on, but I used to wait 10 minutes for it to work. And I thought, do you know what? I don't care. I'm telling this flow when to work because
Okay.
because I know when I want it to work,
Yeah.
and it's really really clever. I think it's really amazing.
No, and I think that's one thing I like about buttons is that that manual trigger leaves you in control as to when it occurs. So
Yep,
that's perfect. Thank you.
cool. So the next demo is on something called the Art Project. Now, just so you know, on my YouTube channel, I did a series of 14 videos where you actually build this. It's all based on SharePoint, so you can go and like go through them. It's only me and my mum that have ever watched these videos. People tend to get to video 5 and they think, "Oh, do you know what? I'll go and watch a box set on Netflix, I think." So I don't know if anyone's ever got to the end of it, but you know, it's there. It's if people want to use it, then can you see this on the screen? Did you see that?
Yes, I can see
Yeah,
it. Your art
yeah, but
projects.
yeah, but watch this. I watch this. I've got to show you again. So I'm going to go to review my projects, and then I'm going to go back again. But watch this. Watch all the stuff appear in the background.
Okay.
Look, right hand side. Can you see it?
I love the
Oh
animation. Yeah,
man,
very nice.
is that good or what? Okay, cool. So, and these are actually bits of artwork that my daughter did. So, and this is where we are talking about. This is power ups for family and home and so on. And but I didn't just use it for family and home. Could you see? There's the poached egg one. So this is one where it's like an instruction kit for making a poached egg, but but I'll show you this is a piece of artwork that my daughter did, and it shows. I'm just going to hit the button here to orientate the photos. So this is where she started off her piece of work, and it started off like that. Then she did a bit more on it, and it looked like that. And then she did even more on it. I think this is the kind of final version, and it looked like this. And then finally, I did a version of the photo. I took a photo of it, and it finally looked in this way. So the reason for doing this is that if you're an artist, and I do art and so on, but not very much these days, you get to the end of the project and you think, oh, I wonder how it got like that. And so I wanted to give people. Do you know what I mean? Though,
No,
particularly
I
if you get.
do. I do. You don't know how many people are on YouTube doing art just because people want to see the progress. They like to
Yeah.
see it become, this thing that they can't even imagine. It's only
And
in the artist's head.
yeah. So say for example, if you do, for example, if you do watercolors,
Yeah.
you go from light to dark, and so
Hmm.
you could potentially do that. You could show it building up, and you also do it in because in the nature of watercolor is that you have to let it dry and so on in between the washes and so on. So
Yes.
theoretically, you could do a photo every wash if you were that
Yes.
desperate.
Yeah.
And by contrast, if you do an oil painting, you actually work from dark to light.
That's
So
right.
you could potentially be doing photos at each stage, and let's be honest, um, they take ages to do them
Yes.
anyway.
Yes.
So this is the poached egg one. Look at this. This is how to this is how to build. This is how to make a poached egg. You get egg. You get saucepan. Oh well, look, I've. This is me orientating it. Get saucepan. Boiled kettle. Get saucepan.
I love it.
Crack egg. Yeah, and this is the bit you do need to know
Oh,
about.
cooking lesson
Move
here.
the spoon in a circular fashion, and then you sort of blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
and then you get and then you get
Yes.
a poached egg at the end.
Yes.
But do you know what? That could be an instruction kit for something you do in the workplace. I don't
Definitely.
know what it is.
You know what I was thinking about? So when you first told me about this, so I have a real serious construction leaning. The construction industry is like my little favorite thing. And we have something called as builts in construction, where you take design drawings and they get redlined and then they get edited and then they get redlined and then they get edited. Those design drawings are very important to keep track of how they change over time, and then
Hmm.
finally to project always
Okay.
the latest version of truth
Yeah.
or the as
Yeah.
built.
Yeah.
And I could totally see this being a very efficient method of handling design drawing changes, or even step-by-step tutorials, that like you did with the cooking. You know, like what if I wanted to give my support team instructions on how to handle a particular incident? I could tag
Yeah.
that error code and then step by step screenshots of what to do. So it would be awesome to kind of see this genius that you've done here, Rory, in many different industries and many different scenarios. So it's awesome. Thank you
And
for
it
sharing that.
and of course the best solutions are patterns. They're not actual answers to something. So it's something you could just use over and over again. So
Yep, yep,
yeah.
love it.
And as you can see,
What were
sorry.
what was your as you were doing this, like what was the key feature in Power Apps that made this easy? Or, you know, can you share what you kind of built upon? What features were you mostly using?
I think the most important thing about this for me was the fact that you could have one gallery filtering another gallery.
Mm,
So and then and the reason I'm saying that, it was at that point in my learning that that's where I thought, oh my god, you can have a gallery filter another gallery. Wow, that was so for me it was that light bulb moment. Of course, yeah, the pictures and so on, but I'd already done when I'd done this expenses report, I'd already dealt with pictures, so that wasn't a big deal for me.
okay.
But for me personally, that was like a real game changer. Um, because that meant you could have header and line items basically. So it was quite exploratory for
That's
me.
awesome. Love it. Love it. I definitely would like to build on this in some other way with you one day. Okay,
Yeah,
I don't
no,
want to hold you up. No questions. Everybody's like, wow. They're all thinking about different ways to using this. A likes the idea of as built. So good job, Rory. Keep going. Let's
cool.
share more. I love
Yeah.
it.
Okay. So I am going to do the Where's Kylo one because it's my app. I guess this is my show. And this is the Where's Kylo Winter Special. Now I did a version of Where's Kylo, and it was like one during the summer. But then we had a bit of snow, and I thought, oh, I could do a Where's Kylo Winter Special, couldn't I? And it's a really, really simple app. And the reason why I like it is because someone could take this app, and I'm more than happy to share it with people. I think and they can then just make it their own. And so here's Kylo. Look, here he comes. Hello, Kylo. And basically, it's a hide and
Oh, he's so cute.
yeah, hey, Carlo, hello, here, boy. So basically, it's a hide and seek game, and basically, I should let you control the cursor here, so you could have to go left, left, right, right. So where do you think Carlo is, Audrey?
I see him. He's like on the left
Yeah,
at
yeah,
probably about 7 o'clock, I guess.
yeah. So click on that. Congratulations, you found him. Oh, I think there's. Do you know what?
Oh, this is like a
There's
where's Waldo,
yeah,
but with the dog.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we won't do all of them, but this is an awkward one actually. I don't know if you can see him on this one, but he's just down here, um, and congratulations, you found him. And I like the again bit because it's like what kids would do, again, but the reason why this is neat is because it's ridiculously simple. I mean, you can just take this. I hope this is the right app, by the way. You can take this and you can make it your own. All you do is you basically change the photos. So we're in the app now, and I'm sharing this app anyway. So we'll make sure we get it into the chat at the end. Um, so and the reason it's simple is because that's my gecko thing. That's definitely not the right one. Um, oh dear. Do you know what I did? It's so stupid actually. I converted this into an app where my daughter said that she had her gecko. She didn't know if it was moving or not. So I said, "Well, I'll build you an app." And so I was building this app which take a photo of her gecko every like 30 every out 10 minutes or something, and so she'll be able to
Wow.
know if it's moving or not.
Yeah.
Anyway, the bad news is that I've actually just gone right over the top of my app.
Whoa.
Bad luck. Okay, never mind. But yeah, so the idea of it is that you can edit the app very easily. I'm just conscious of time, but you know I will do it anyway. So go to my apps
You're doing
because
okay.
find Kylo because I really want to show people. Yeah, does it do that? Um, so the
Try
reason
the
why
search. We added a search in the top right. Did you notice it?
no, oh look at that! No, I
Yeah.
didn't.
So you
Oh,
can, yeah,
Kylo.
there you go.
Okay, look. Oh, for goodness sake, why is okay? Never mind. You might find there were two versions of it, and maybe I need to just yeah. I don't want to kind of do the versioning and so on. But if I wanted to, I guess I could go to the versions and then go to a version and then kind of go from here, and I could restore it and so on. But
Yes.
then I would end up losing my. In fact, I will restore it. Yeah. What the hell? Um. Oh,
What
look at
happened? It
that.
got a revision when a little lately.
Well, I think it was when I was converting it into being a 222. That's better. Yeah, yeah. So if I restore this version, because always when I was playing with it, I thought, oh, I can do it with my Where's Carlo app. Restore failed. Oh, it's
Yeah.
probably because I'm in the app. Typical.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Look, we're learning as we go.
Yeah.
Restore
You're
that.
pointing out some good points.
Yeah.
These are good points for
Don't be
everybody
in
to
the app.
know.
And so now we're in there, and we can go on to there. And don't you just love the way you just get back and forward, which is a bit weird. Kylo, because I would love it if people just said, "Hey, let's go and do some hide and seek game," and just literally make it for their kids. You
Yeah.
know,
It sounds
um,
fun. And people like that, like find because there's a lot of apps like that in the store, like hidden things, and people love finding hidden things. So
yeah.
I think it would be fun for a person to make an app custom to their family that they could play. I think that would be awesome, especially
Uh,
when it doesn't need any code, right? You can just do it.
Yeah, so this is it here, and this is nice actually. The way in which it works is you've got 5 screens. All you have to do to convert this app is all you do is you go to media, and you go to your images, and you've got one search, one found, two search, two found, three search, three found, etc., etc. You just basically just go straight over the top of these, and then on the pages themselves, all you do is you go to the screen itself. You go onto the label there, and if your thing is a different place, all you do is you move it around. It's as simple as that, and
Ah,
that's it. Boom. That's
wow.
boom. You've just done it.
That
So
is super easy. And
yeah.
and and you just what are you swapping out images for the background? Like,
That's
um,
right, yeah. So it's just was it a background image? Yeah, one search. So and then similarly, so it's kind of crude in a way.
I like it.
Background image, two search, etc., etc., etc. So,
Ah,
but the reason why you need the second one is because the congratulations thing goes off and looks. Where is it? The congratulations image uses this one found, two found, three found, four found, etc. That
gotcha.
so actually it appears in this area here. So when you
Mhm.
find them, it kind of shows you a little, almost like a thumbnail, but like a small version of the image. But it's quite crude this,
Yeah,
but
I like
very
it. And
very
I think
editable and so on.
it's a good example of using background images, which I don't use very much, like screen background images. I don't use that very much, and so you
Yeah.
found a really efficient way to do that. And where do you swap your background image?
Well, well, I mean, the
It's just
background
screen
image.
to
Yeah.
screen. Okay,
Yeah,
you're changing
it's
screens.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. It's really simple. And notice on this one here is that it's the back yeah, the background image will always fill it, I think. I think
Yes.
that's right.
Yeah.
Image. Oh yeah, there we are. So rather than having fit, which wouldn't look quite so good,
Right.
if you go
Yes.
fill,
Yep.
you get boom. It's just looks really nice um
It looks
on
like
there.
such a professional app.
There
Like
you
I'm like,
are.
wow, so cool. And so
Yeah.
it's like when I look at your apps today, I got the feeling that, you have, like I was talking to your mom on the sidebar here.
Oh, that's good.
You're very creative in your approach. Um, which kind of shows that, you can think out of the box. You guys are getting started with Power Ups. And you know what I like also about this approach? One of the best tips I ever give anyone about learning Power Apps is basically start with something that you already love and know, right? He loves and knows his mom. He loves and he understands how children learn. So he's using those learning experiences to pivot new apps. Sometimes it's easier to start with something you know really well as opposed to picking something that you have to learn about the thing while you're learning how to build
Yeah.
the Power App. So, I mean, I think these are all very nice examples of what each of us could try and do with our own families, and
Yeah.
with our own children. I don't have children, but I definitely want to use your art project. And by the way, Mike Alero loved your art project. He made a point to call that out.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, thanks so
yeah,
much.
yeah, that is one I want to build upon that, especially that one on a business perspective. So we have to partner in the future, Rory. I
No,
love
absolutely.
this. I think we have time for you to show one more. You think you
I
can?
think I think we should close with the bedtime poem. Now, I'll just
Okay.
talk about the Christmas show. The Christmas show was where on Christmas Day I built an app, and what the app well no, I didn't actually build it on the day. And what it is a slideshow. And so what happens is that it takes a load of images. So what happened was I went around, I got about 70 images of my late father-in-law, and I pushed them up to OneDrive or and then into a document library, and then the app basically kind of scrolls through them. But we did it to music and so on. We haven't got time for that, but we do have time for a bedtime poem. I hope you're not going to fall asleep at this time of day. I know it's 8 o'clock with you, isn't it?
I don't think I'm going to fall asleep yet. It would take a
No,
while. So we're
it's
good.
it's eight it's 8 o'clock in the morning. So
Yes.
this is a poem that I wrote a long time ago. I say a long time ago, maybe a couple of years ago. And this is a little bit of artwork to do with the poem. So it's called Ogre's Journey. We're not going to do the whole poem, but we are going to have a bit of fun with it. So um, the way there's different bits to it, but I think that to start with, um, we should just like read it out. So I'll do the top two lines, and you do the bottom two lines. How does that sound?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, so the ogre Grimner approached the wood, club trailing behind. He was up to no good.
He had a sore throat and was all of a blunder, and now searched the forest to shave off his hunger.
Next verse. There was a rumour, if you went deep inside, you would find tasty fairies and more besides.
So in he went through the gathering gloom, hoping his stomach would be filled soon.
We won't do too much longer. The trees were great and their trunks were tall, but Grimnet was afraid of nothing at all.
His club did drag over root and stone, and the ogre walked on starved and alone. He walked on starved and alone.
Yeah.
I could
So
see reading this with my child,
I
like or
know, I
my
know.
niece or my nephew, and they would actually love it. And the little illustration on the bottom left, is that the ogre?
Yeah, that is
Did you draw that?
yeah, well I did, but
Wow.
it's based on Bolg from Lord of the Rings. No,
Ah, got you.
The Hobbit actually. I
The
think it's The
Hobbit.
Hobbit.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that
But
illustration.
check this out now.
Okay.
Check this piece out here. Record audio. We can actually, you won't be able to hear it, unfortunately, but we can actually record the audio for these bits here. We could actually record it. So let's say, for example, and you
Oh.
could actually give the app to the child, and and in fact, they could record the audio, so they could read the poem, and you could read a verse, they could read a verse. So I'm going to do it now. So if I hit start on this, what it's actually going to do is actually going to record me doing the verse. So the ogre Grimnet approached the wood, club trailing behind, he was up to no good. He had a sore throat and was all of a blunder, and now searched the forest to stave off his hunger. So And basically, the output of that has gone into a collection which has an association with this particular line of the verse. And so what's happens now is that each time you move through each verse, it will actually play the audio associated with that verse. I think I'm so I mean I don't even know where the audio goes. Because once you're done with it, once you close the app, the audio's gone.
Yeah. No, no, this
um
is awesome. I think it's a great way for young children also to practice reading with,
yeah,
Buddy. And uh I think you could arrange a scenario where you're saving audio to a certain degree.
yeah.
Although we do have a limit, I think, of 250 megs. Um, but I think just doing it back and forth and clearing it every screen would actually be very efficient, but it would be a great way for them to practice. They could hear it and then say it back. Um, I think that's really a
Yeah.
great idea.
Well, what actually happens is it will record each verse. So so it doesn't clear it when you move between screens. It actually, if you went through and did the whole poem and you recorded each verse and then went back to those different verses, you would actually hear the audio for each verse because the audio has been stored next to each line
That's
and next to
awesome.
each verse. It's really cool. Um,
Awesome. I could
so
see it also used for language instruction, like if you were learning a second language.
Yeah, yeah, and that's quite fun, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
you could go in all sorts of directions with it, really. I mean, my wife, I haven't had the chance to show it. My wife's a French teacher. I built games for
Oh,
her that allow her to teach the children language in kind of more fun ways. So we haven't got time for
that's
that
it.
though.
Yeah, all of these have just blown me away. I mean, I actually see quite a bit of fun. I see ease. It's like, how do we make um, solutions that extend, like the old-fashioned way of doing a solution? These are all very new and creative, very modern approaches. So I hope everyone really enjoyed having Rory on board. Rory is awesome. And so we're going to try and hear more from him in the near future, um, and kind of get to see other things that he's done. We were going to post this on the community as well. So you'll have a link to it on the community where you can post comments and questions to Rory. I'll have Rory watch the community link for a while just in case you have questions. And he's also planning, right, Rory? You're planning to share this app or one of these apps on our app gallery.
Yeah, I'll share them on the gallery. In fact, I did a right at the top of the chat. I did actually do a share to
Okay,
my OneDrive. But I think
perfect.
if you're saying you probably find the Where's Kylo one isn't I'll need to fix that up. But
Okay,
and I can do that anyway. But I think that I'm more than happy to share these things with people. I won't be able to share any ones that have got data, if that makes sense, because they just kind of fall apart once they don't have any data anymore.
okay.
But
No problem.
I'm really keen on connecting with people around the field trip type thing. Yeah,
Perfect.
I want schools to be able to use this. I don't really care too much about the IP, to be honest. I would love it if kids went to museums and kind of came back and felt engaged and all those sorts of things.
It's awesome.
So
Thank you, Rory. Thank
cool.
you. And this is www.dataspinners, DATASPINNERS .co.uk. This is
Yeah,
his site. You can find other
yeah.
gems and stuff there.
So
I have to cut us short, otherwise I won't be able to cut it. But Rory, thank you, thank you. You've got lots of accolades in the chat. Miss Belinda Allen says this was simply amazing. And your mom got lots of encouragement too because she raised such a creative and smart person. So, Hillary, it was so great to have you here. Thank you all for coming. And we'll be talking to you again soon. Have a wonderful week. And as usual, happy power apping. We'll be talking to you soon. Bye bye.
bye.